you've come a lot further. You went a lot deeper with understanding all of these things. And I remember when we first started, you were a really big skeptic when it came to NFTs. You're like, dude, this is I just remember you being like, what the fuck? I'm not. And then what actually, I could be wrong, but what started taking you down the rabbit hole was Zed Run, I think. It was like the first one you started looking into, right?
Well, yeah, that was just because I like race horsing, and you and I have also always wanted to own a racehorse, I think, or at least I have, right? And I
Yeah.
think I would probably convince you to do it with me, and then it's probably not a great investment and a losing one, but even still, it would be enjoyment, which I'd be down for, right? But just like going down that rabbit hole is a lot more serious time commitment and money commitment than it is to just buy a digital one and almost get maybe some of the same enjoyment. So
But
that's what I looked at.
yeah, but
Zed
you
Run.
looked at it though because there was passion in the real world about it, right? So it was a little bit easier for you to kind of start wanting to learn more in the digital world because there was a
Mm-hmm.
passion already, right? So it didn't kind of feel like you were doing, work. You were kind of trying to learn more about the space because you were already interested in it, which I think is actually a good place for a lot of people to start.
Yeah, something that you enjoy. So no, people probably don't even know what Zed Run is already listening to this, right? It's like just saying some random word. So Zed Run is a project, which was one of the earliest NFT projects, actually, I think, because I think it's the first one I looked at where you basically can purchase or breed digital horses that you then use to participate in races, and you can breed yourself, and people will like pay you money for offspring. You win money when you win races. There's various levels, and there's various intensities you can get into it with the stakes that you're entering and all that kind of stuff. So it's
So,
basically mimicking.
all right, let's just stick with Zed Run for a second because there's some things that you said that are already over my head, right? So you could purchase a horse. Okay, I understand that. You lose me a little bit when you go breeding because it's not real world, right? It's digital. So how the hell does breeding work?
No, that
Uh,
is real world. They breed horses in the
that's what I'm
real
saying.
world.
That's real world. How the hell do you do it in the digital world, right? So sticking with just purchasing a horse, a digital horse, which would be your NFT. Um, One, how do you go about choosing which horse you're going to purchase?
Yep. So when that started, there were three different versions, I think, or maybe even five. There was like, and they gave them different names. There was like Satoshi or Nakamoto was like the best, the highest tier, or the most
Like
rare.
the most rare breed.
Well, when the whole thing even starts, you're not breeding anything because they're getting minted, right? So you'd have to describe what a mint is. That's when an NFT is actually being created. I mean, it doesn't exist one day and it exists the next day. So that's the mint. So when Zed Run, the owners of the project, were dropping these digital horses, there was a certain amount that were, let's call it the top tier, which I think were called Nakamoto's, right? And then the tier under that, I can't remember the name of those. Do you? There was like Satoshi's maybe, and then I know the lowest one was like Buterin. There's not Satoshi. It doesn't even matter. We just call it tier one, two, three, right? So the tier ones were like the best. The tier twos, maybe Buterin were the second, and then there was kind of like the common ones, which was like the lowest, which was like all the other ones. And the premise was is their algorithm for racing was, whatever combination of thoroughbred horse you had with its likeness, like in the real world for a short race or a long race, versus if it's like a sprinter or not, would all be determining the outcome of the race. So, like if there was 10 horses in the race, there's a level of randomness to it, but technically, like in real life, the best horse should win, but it doesn't always win because there is a random element.
Okay, but in the real world, it's like the horses are racing. In the digital world, there's an algorithm that's pushing these horses. Is that so? It's
Yeah,
it's
I think
control.
the algorithm, and again, I haven't looked at this project in months, but the way I understand it is according to the traits and the characteristics of the horse and their thoroughbred line, it gets input into the algorithm pot, which gets jumbled up, and then the percentages of who should win the race kind of is determined by that code.
And those percentages are available before the race starts, right? So like odds when you're betting. So you
Um,
should know who has the best chance of
like,
winning.
yeah, who's the favorite and stuff like that, I think. Yeah. There's probably a lot of things in that project that have evolved since then that we would have to relook at.
Oh, again, we're just going back to like the first experience. And I like this one because again, you were passionate about it in the real world, and you started seeing how that the real life translated to the digital world.
Hmm.
So let's go back to minting. So when the project is launching, there's how many there's going to be, right? So let's just say, do you remember how many there were going to be? They were going
Yeah,
to
I
be
think
minting
Zed Run there was 10,000 to start. So those are like the Genesis ones. Like there's 10,000 that are minted.
Genesis. That I
Yeah,
think that was one, right? Was I feel like
those are ones that are minted. They are the first. But
okay,
then
good.
now there's way more than 10,000 because people are breeding them. So maybe there's hundreds of thousands of them, but there will only be 10,000 Genesis ones that are actually
Okay, but
minted.
let's stick with that. So I pay. I know I'm so I let's just say that the minting price was 1 ETH. Okay, just call it. I don't even know what it was at the time, unless you do. But we could just use a hypothetical right now. Usually they're less than that, or probably was less than that. But you don't know what you're getting. That's the whole
Right,
thing, right? So
right.
you're when it's being minted, it's the unknown. 10,000 are coming out, 10,000 are being sold, and you don't know which traits your horse or your NFT has until it's revealed, right? So there's a
Yeah.
mint
Zed
and
Run did
there's a
it different too.
reveal.
They didn't do 10,000 all at once. They did like 2,000, then 2,000. They staggered their 10,000, I remember. But yes, everything else you're saying is correct.
Okay, so then there's a mint. So it's like you don't know what you're getting yet. Then there's a reveal. Now you do know what you're getting. And now on the secondary market, something like OpenSea, you can go and see which ones are now available, right? Either for you can go and look up the entire collection and look up which one and do filtering systems, right? By which traits they have. Now those traits are going to determine how much people are selling or reselling them on the secondary market. So now you know
Yeah.
what you're getting, but you never know what you're getting on the mint, right? You don't know what you're buying unless you're buying in the secondary market, correct?
Yeah, I'm just trying to look up the names so I actually say the right ones. But yes, so let's just go back to tier one, two, three. Let's say you mint and then it gets revealed, and then you have a tier one, you're going to be able to resell that or sell that at a higher price than the tier three, just because it's more rare.
So a good analogy, you tell me if I'm wrong. I think you actually told me this when I was asking you about minting. A mint would be the equivalent to pre-construction, right? It's like they're not done yet. The models aren't ready, but you're buying it before it's actually available, right? For sale to the like what's the best way to describe what's a really good
It's
analogy?
somewhat
Is
of like a lottery because in a pre-construction, you're still going to know what you're telling the builder to build, right?
right.
This is more, all right. So here's the actual names. It goes Nakamoto is the top one. And then I think it was Sabo, and then Buterin, and then Finney. So there were four levels, just to get that out there. Anyway, yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Because we're
Um,
using words now that like we've never used the word mint in this term. So what to someone just starting when you have to describe what a mint is.
it's like buying a pack of baseball cards when you were a kid. You don't know what you're going to get in there, but you may get Mark McGuire's rookie card, but you may
Got it.
get 10 shitty cards. It's kind of like that.
Got it. Okay. I like that's a good analogy.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Um,
And then you can buy 10 packs instead of one, which people do, right? They don't just try to mint one. Sometimes they try to mint as many as they can.
right.
Some
Okay.
people buy, I remember you used to go in there to the baseball card shows and buy the whole boxes of cards or the whole like decks, like
Yep.
same kind of, the premise of that is probably the exact same thing.
All right. So now Zed Run was your kind of first NFT that you started doing research on. We've evolved a lot since then. We probably own somewhere in the ballpark of what, 650 NFTs at
I
this
think like
point.
I think like 350 to 400 because we've been selling some.
Okay. What are some of your favorite projects that we're involved in now?
I like moonbirds
So let's go over this. Okay, Moonbirds is a good one. It's a big one. Tell why do you like Moonbirds?
because Kevin Rose is somebody that I've been following for a long time. And I know that he was friends with Tim Ferriss, which is how I got introduced to him. And I've just been listening to him. And I know that he's a real person, right? We also just went to a Moonbirds event at NYC, NFT NYC. We saw him there. We kind of already know that he's talking about are real and legit. It's just a level of comfortability when you know who the person is. You've heard him speak. We actually met his partner. I had dinner with his partner. So just a comfort level there. A lot of the projects that are already loved or already kind of like at huge levels, like Board 8 Yacht Club, right? And what they've done and why people love them is because they just gotten so much stuff and made so much money. They love the community. How could you not, right? When you buy something for $1,000 and it goes to $400,000, then you get free stuff even more on top of that. How can you not love it? I feel like Moonbirds would have been the same had it launched back when they did. Moonbirds just had so happened to have launched what 2 months ago, and so I feel like the potential is there for that, but it just hasn't played out yet, like it already has with Board 8 Yacht Club. The only
Finish that thought.
difference is that Board 8 Yacht Club was way in the beginning. Moonbirds, I'm not going to say is late, which is much further down the path of NFTs, which like 6 months in NFT land is a long time. And now we're in a bear market. Board 8 Yacht Club was before the bull market. It's also two different environments.
And when you say they have potential, you're referring to their roadmap because that's what it's called, right? So when you not only one big factor, not only are the founders a huge factor, right? Like you know who these people are on the other side. They've built trust in whatever arena they're playing in, right? So now they're coming into a new arena. They have that credibility, but now the roadmap. So when you're saying the potential down the road, you're referring to the roadmap and the plan that they have for their NFT holders.
I don't even know if they have a roadmap. I just trust in the core team. Kevin Rose was the founder of Dig, which was a popular website, and he's a partner of a VC firm and does a lot of notable things. So I'm just saying, because of that, I'm assuming that what he does with Moonbirds, which is his main focus now, is also going to be successful. Very well, may not be, but that's a bet I would make.
What's another NFT that we have right now that you're a fan of?
Maybe CryptoPunks, just because they were the first one. And whenever you're the first, there's always going to be value there. So just because of that, I mean, they look cool and it's just art, but they were first. Like they were kind of known for being the first.
What are your thoughts on Board 8 Yacht Club?
I think Board 8 Yacht Club at this point is played out. I think when things shoot up to the level they have and come down, you pretty much have peaked. I don't think they're going back to where they were. They also issued ApeCoin and did that Other Deeds Land project, which I think was viewed by the community as kind of like a failure, and people weren't happy with that. So like they've already been at their peak. They've slid down from there. Everything has slid down from there. But like their last, whatever they did last wasn't viewed favorably. So kind of like waiting to see what's next.
Okay.
Also,
Uh,
like what I'm not so I know we have a Board Ape, but I don't participate in their community. Like I'm not in their Discord, so I don't know what their deal is. Like there's only so much shit you can give away for free until you run out of money, right? Like the founders of the project take in money. Anything that they're giving to you for free, I think someone has to come out of that war chest of money they have. Like unless you're producing value, which they probably are, that money runs out at some point. I mean, it's also probably one of the most known projects out there. They also bought CryptoPunks. They bought Larva Labs, which is the creators of CryptoPunks. So unless they're doing stuff, I don't know what they're doing next, which is basically like why I'm not all about it.
what are so I think I brought this up to you before because again, if I can't explain it like to a 5-year-old, I know I don't have a really good grasp on it. But how would you define Web3?
Yeah, Web3 is the decentralization of stuff, and I know that word probably doesn't even help some people, right? So think about it this way: Facebook is centralized because Facebook, the company, owns your profile. You upload a bunch of stuff to your profile on their servers, but it's their property, right? So if Facebook goes away or you delete your Facebook account, all those assets are gone, right? Now, obviously, you can download your pictures and all that stuff, but all the conversations on there are gone, right? Like all your history is gone. Everything on there is gone. All your friend connections are gone. You don't own that. They actually own it, right? If there was another social media platform that was not run by an actual company, but was run or the people who owned, I guess, an NFT or a token to have a profile on that, where all partial owners in that, everything you would upload to that profile would actually be yours that you could take with you because you own it, right? Even if the whole thing was to shut down, you have that stuff. You can prove ownership of that stuff. So that's just a long-winded way to say that Web3 in general, away from Web2, is a movement away from all things that are centralized and mostly companies to the broad public having an ownership, say, community, participation in whatever it may be. I just used a social media example, but there's various examples you can use.
So can Facebook Web 2 move to Facebook Web 3, or is that not possible?
Yeah, so Facebook is already a public company. So if you own a share in Facebook, you technically do own a piece of the company, right? But you don't have a say. Actually, you do have a say of what's going on. There's meetings where you vote on stuff, but you're not going to have a real big say in it unless you were to buy a huge chunk of the company and then had a big enough, where I'm trying to get at, or no?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, Facebook would have to basically sell their company to the public in a different way on Web3. I don't know if this is right or wrong, but let's say all the intricacies of them being a public company went away and they went private again, right? And then Facebook came out and issued, 50 million Facebook NFTs that all were priced at 1 Ethereum. And then those 50 million people who own that NFT were now all equal, owners pro rata according to how many of those NFTs they had. That would then probably be a Web3 company.
Okay, I do understand that. It's still hard to think though that there's not one company or person setting this up, right? Like, who's building this platform? Somebody has to do it. It's not like all these people are doing. And I guess what they're saying is, like, if I want to go build a social media platform, I can, but then I'm using the public's money to build it.
Well, so that's what all these NFT projects really are. They're really all just startups using NFTs to raise money. So
it's crowdfunding.
It's basically what it is.
Right. Like,
but there's cool spins on it too. But yes, it is. I mean, even look at Moonbirds, right? So 10,000 Moonbirds were minted, right? But it was 50 million bucks. So that's what the guy did. He launched 10,000 of these Moonbirds, got 50 million bucks, and now he has a company with $50 million to start doing what he wants with. That's the same for everybody else. That's what it is. So when you're investing, so when people are like, it doesn't make sense, these images are stupid, they're JPEGs, right? But what you're really investing in is the team, and you're investing in a startup. Like, so do you think their idea is cool? Do you think their community is cool? Do you think their roadmap is cool? Do you trust them? That's really what you're buying. You're really not buying the picture. That just comes along with it.
I guess I do understand, because so let's just say they started coming out with sweatshirts, Moonbird sweatshirts, right? I mean, as an NFT owner, do I get a piece of apparel sales? Because see, look, right now you're wearing a polo shirt. I'm wearing a Gap shirt. Right now, we wear these things, but I don't get shit for wearing it. If it had Gap across my chest, I mean, we're literally promoting these companies for free. If I'm part of a company, right, you're excited to wear it. I'm excited to wear a Moonbird because the more people see me wearing a Moonbird shirt, those people may like it. They may go buy it. And at the end, am I getting a percentage of that even if it's a
I
small
think
one.
it's different for every project, but the answer is yes and no per the project because every project is different. That's like asking a general question about how every company works. That's what
Got
you're
it.
asking.
So then the roadmap would be an important thing, right? Like to see, or is it built in? Like right now, if you like Moonbirds, if Moonbirds was to say you've already invested, we're starting an apparel company, you get nothing. It's like after the fact. I didn't know, right? I guess you're just trusting. Like let's use this as an example. Moonbirds comes out and they start apparel company. What would you want as an NFT holder if they did start that? Would you be okay if they're like you get nothing, or everyone gets a percentage? Like,
Well, then it's just like then you're just starting. You're investing in an apparel startup. That's what you're doing, right?
well, they're not now, but they can go any
Well,
direction because,
because
like you
you're
said,
saying
you don't know,
Moonbirds,
you really
but
don't
I'm
know what
sure there is
direction
some
they're
kind of
going
apparel
in,
startup.
right?
Yeah. No, you're right. That's just Moonbirds. But like, so Adidas, this is why some of the things I don't think make so much sense. Like Adidas dropped NFTs, right? You buy the NFT, which gives you some of their merch, right? Which they send to you over time. So that's really what you bought. You bought their merchandise, right? You didn't buy, that's what you get. Like if you don't care about the merchandise, why are you buying the NFT? That's literally what you get. But then there's other ones that you buy their NFT, which really only gives you the right to buy their stuff. Like G Money's dropping a T-shirt, right, to all his Admit One holders. Is that T-shirt free for them, or do they have to buy it? Who knows? I don't know the answer.
Got it.
So there's different ways things are played.
So I was in Bahamas this weekend with Jamie, Muscatella, right? And he's interested in this.
Jim?
Jim Muscatella, yeah.
Yeah.
And he has the luxury car leasing company, right? And he wants to get into this. And we were trying to explain, like, there's so many different ways that you can go. And I don't have my head wrapped around all of this enough. But if I sat down with somebody, I'm an idea guy where I'm like, yo, this is what you should be doing. But it would be cool if when you leased this car, right? We were talking about it. The title, the deed, or whatever, the lease goes onto the blockchain. You get an NFT, and yes, you're walking out and you're driving off in this Lambo, but now you also get a Lambo in the digital world. Okay. So as I start thinking about this, I'm like, okay, but what digital world? Like, how do I take my Lambo that I own now in digital world, and how do I drive it in Sandbox or Decentraland?
So I think we started this on second base, and now we're getting into like past home plate. But with because Sandbox and now doing those things, what I think for a beginner are two things. Number one, you didn't know anything about this. Now you do, right?
I know enough to start asking questions. How about that? Like,
I'm going to talk about in December of this year, you came to me and were like, yo, I don't know how to do all this shit. And I was like, you don't get it. Nobody does. Like,
right.
Just sit down in front of your computer and start figuring shit out. That's what you have to do, right? And you did. And I remember,
and I put 25 grand. Like I do. Okay. I spent 25,000
because after like a couple of days of that, you were like, "Yo, I just bought a Batman, a Spider-Man, this and this and that." You started sending me shit, and I was like, and I still was a hater on NFTs at that point. You were doing that, but so just describe. So that's interesting, even to me. You went from like, I don't know anything about this. Please tell me about it. Like I even knew something about it. And then you were spending $25,000 on this shit. So what happened from that to that?
So what happened specifically for me was I remember the first time I ever heard about an NFT was from Noah Keegan, right? That because he put out that he was buying a moon cat, something like that. So I'm like, this fucker's involved in something. I want to be involved in it. I have no idea what it is. So I called my brother Anthony. This was
so Noah Kagan is Trust. There you go.
Yes,
right.
Somebody
you've been following
for a long time. Tim Ferriss, at least 10 years. You and I have been following him. So I saw that he bought it. I called my brother Anthony, who's a trader. And at this time, I didn't even think he had NFTs because this is where I said to us, like, hey, we should start getting involved in this kind of thing. And I brought us all together. But I called up Anthony. I was like, how the hell do I buy this? He's like, you have to go to OpenSea. You have to start a wallet. You have to do you have Ethereum? And I'm like, dude, what? Or do you have Ether? I was like, I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about. Like, he's, and I remember he's like, all right, I'll do it because I'm all hooked up already. So that was my first, that was my first step into the NFT space. We bought a Mooncat. And then from there, I didn't do anything for 5 months or whatever. But then people like Mickey and people around me started telling me, "Hey, have you seen these new NFTs that came out on an app called Vive?" Right. So I'm like, "Oh, Marvel, big companies are now coming out, Disney." And not only that, but when I went into the app and started seeing what, first off, they made it super easy because you were able to use Apple Pay, right, to convert. I didn't have to get a wallet or anything else. I signed into this thing and they were doing these drops, but they were cool. Like I was able to buy a Spider-Man and then use, if I owned it, in augmented reality, like on my phone. If I'm in my apartment, I'm able to use that NFT and see him hanging from the ceiling and literally like walk around him like he's there. So I just
Right?
thought
Because
that was
you have an Oculus headset, right?
no, I didn't, not even on Oculus. This was just on my phone. So I don't know if you've
Oh,
ever even
got it, got it, got it,
right,
got it.
you own it and then
Hmm.
there's a button that you press and it's like augmented reality and it does like a grid across your floor, right? Your space, and then it puts this NFT, this digital image that moves and does everything. Like I had a jet in my living room and I thought
Hmm.
that was super cool. So I'm like, all right, if I buy all these things in the metaverse, I own them. Like in this digital thing, I'm going to be able to do anything I want with them. Little did I know, though, once you own these in this app Vive, you weren't able to cash out. Like it's not the way it is now. So then I started asking Mickey and other people about the NFTs there. And then Mickey would come to me and he's like, dude, did you buy Gambling Ape? And I'm like, what's a gambling ape? He's like, you're investing in a casino. And I'm like, that's awesome. I want in. Like, and I keep hearing you say over and over again, like if you feel like you're about to miss out on something, most likely it's about to fucking drop. Like the whole thing is about to fall apart. So I was very excited because I thought I was missing out on everything. So I was trying to get in and not doing enough research. I've made mistakes. I bought a thing that was worth nothing for $4,000 because I thought it was an original of something. Like I got taken. And it wasn't until we came together as a group that I'm like, all right, I'm going to sit back. You guys have a better understanding of this. I'll put in some input for the projects that I'm seeing that I like. But like, I had to lean on you guys for the research. Like, is this a good one? Especially my brother Anthony, right? Went from, he invested 300,000 in August. And at the height, in December, that portfolio was valued at, $4 or $5 million. So anyway, I just started
So to
dabbling.
break that down into different parts, what got you from zero to spending money on NFTs was one, somebody that you trusted was doing it.
Mhm.
That's what got you started. Number two, you thought it was straight up cool. I mean, that's the same as going to Best Buy and just buying cool shit or new technology, right?
Mhm.
And then number three, other people were doing it, and the allure of investing in a startup was appealing to you. It always has been, right? So
Mhm.
that got you. That's what FOMO is, fear of missing out, right? You're investing in a casino. And then four, you started putting yourself around other people who were also interested in doing stuff in this space, right?
Correct.
How much time would you say it took you on your computer on your own from that first period after the 5 months of that initial buy when you started just doing all this stuff on your own? Like how much time did you invest?
20 hours plus.
Which took you how long? How many weeks?
This was spread over. This was a short amount of time because I wanted to
I
get to
know.
know. I would say 2-3 weeks. I
Right.
probably
So there
put in
you go.
20 hours.
Right. So that 2, 3 weeks of education is where I'm getting at. That put you from knowing nothing to then you were actually buying your own NFTs, right?
Correct.
So somebody right now who's like, I have no clue. 20 hours you spent over 3 weeks is literally 7 hours a week, which is an hour a day. So if somebody sat down for an hour each day for 3 weeks, you'd probably know everything you need to know. And that's probably correct.
Right. So at this point, though, where we're at is kind of figuring out where we fucked up, right? Like why did we buy this project? And that was a failure because we out of 600 NFTs, how many of them are winners? Right? Not there weren't many. So I think what we started doing was like, all right, we went nuts. We were buying. Now it's like, let's go back and analyze what we bought, what didn't work, why it didn't work, and not make the same mistakes moving forward. Because, from December to February, we raised $1 million like this. There's nothing, right? We
Yeah.
just told
I
people
wouldn't
what we
say
did.
we messed up, but this is the same psychology that people have when they buy stocks or buy anything that starts getting into an investment. If you're buying something because you think it's cool, that's one thing. If you're buying something because you want it to appreciate to make money, the sell component of it is the second part, which is what most people who are new don't do. When you buy something and it starts going up, rookies never sell it. I say never, but like there's probably so many people who had NFTs that were worth 10 and 20x more than they are now who should still have them, right? Just because it's easy to buy something, but it's actually the second part of that is selling it and not watching it just go back down to zero or less than where you buy it. So it's not so out of all the NFTs that we bought, that was the plan, right? Yeah, we got $1 million because people wanted exposure to NFTs, and we gave them that exposure. We were just buying a whole shitload of NFTs. A venture capital firm, you know, invests in 10 companies, and the one that pays off pays for all the other nine failures. I mean, it was kind of similar to that.
Got it. So right now, our portfolio, I mean, it bounced back a little bit. So what do you think where we are right now? What's your take? So we were at, let's say, 900,000. I think our portfolio value dropped to what, maybe 200 at one point, and now it's back up to like 450, I think, something like that last I heard. But
Yeah, I
what
mean,
is
it's literally just tracking the market and the price of Ethereum. That's basically what our portfolio is doing. The initial one, right?
right?
hmm So, the NFTs have all gotten either let's say they're down 60% or all gotten cut in half. In addition to that, Ethereum, which is the currency that most of them are priced in, went from 4,000 to 1,000 or 1,700. Yeah, it got to under 1,000. So it got cut by 75%. So, those two things and the whole market combines down 75%. So $1 million goes to 250. Now Ethereum's back to 1,500 and some of the NFTs projects are climbing back up. So then our portfolio rebounds with that.
So then our NFTs just, I mean, is the value really just based then on what Ether's at the
Yeah,
time?
Ether
Because
is a currency. There's two parts to it.
right, so
You're
just
not buying them
because
in US dollars.
If Ether dropped 75% because it was bought on the Ethereum blockchain, does that mean that my NFT is worth 75% less just because like there's there's just a direct
Ethereum is
correlation.
not popular enough yet for people to be transacting in Ether and not really care about the US dollar equivalent. The first person who I've actually heard speaking in those terms is Ryan Carson. When I had dinner with him and he was talking about taking investments for his new firm, he never said the word dollar. He was talking about a minimum in ETH, what people had to contribute in ETH monthly, how many ETH he was deploying, right? That's like somebody getting paid in ETH. If you tell me I get paid 10 ETH a month, but then I can go and buy things with ETH and I can give you ETH, the dollars don't matter anymore. It's just not that popular yet. So everybody's equating it to its US dollar amount. So as long as that's still the case, yes, half of what you're buying is not only the NFT, but it's the fluctuations in the currency that you're buying it in.
So does that
All
mean if the
currencies fluctuate.
currency does that mean if
Euro
the
fluctuate.
currency dropped, if
Yes.
Ether dropped to zero, does that mean my board ape now is worth zero? Because it shouldn't. I mean,
No, your Bored Ape is still worth however many ETH it is, but that ETH is worth zero.
that loses me a little bit, right? Because if board ape, if somebody's willing to pay me 400,000 US dollars for a board ape, I don't care how you look at it, and then
If
Ether
you go
goes
to a casino in the Bahamas and you give them $10,000 and they give back chips, you take those chips, you put them on red. You win. You have 20,000 chips, right? You have a flight to catch. You're in a huge rush. You go over the casino cashier and you go, here's 20,000. I need this right now. I'm running into a flight. I got to Uber outside. And they go, 20,000. There's no way we're handing it over to you in anything less than 25 minutes. You have to sit down. We need a copy of your license. We need your social security card. You have to fill out tax documentation. And you're like, fuck that. Just give me two $10,000 chips. I'll be back. Right? They do two chips, no problem. In 2 seconds, they'll give you that. Right?
Mm-hmm.
You get in the Uber, you fly home. 6 months later, you decide you're going to come back to the Bahamas. That casino went bankrupt and they no longer exist. Your chips are worthless, right?
Yes.
Same thing. You still have those chips, but if somebody's not willing to give you the US dollar amount for them, it doesn't matter anymore.
So then why not just invest straight in Ethereum and that's it? Like, why even take the
Because
added
there's
risk
two components. Just look, just two things. You're literally investing in two things. If you just think of it as that and stop thinking about it as one. Why invest only in Ethereum? Great. Buy Ethereum. If it goes up, great. If it goes down, not great. You can get the double kiss on the way up, just like you got double slammed on the way down. If you buy an NFT at 100 and that 100 goes to 200 Ethereum, great. But at the same time, if when you bought it, that 100, Ethereum was at 2,000, and when this went to 200, Ethereum is at 4,000, you made double here and double here. It's the same thing on the way up and down.
So,
or that NFT could go to 200. Ethereum could stay the same. You doubled your money on the NFT.
what's the most popular blockchain for NFTs?
Ethereum.
If that's the rationale, then people are going to do whatever they can to keep Ethereum going, right? Because so many people have so much to lose. If it fails, wouldn't a good long-term play then be investing in Ethereum because so much is already tied to it?
Yeah, if you believe in Ethereum, correct. So what are the problems with Ethereum? It's somewhat slow. It doesn't have enough transactions per second, I think, that can justify a real payment method. I think a good way to compare that is, I think these numbers are going to be wrong, but I'm just going to use it for example. Like, let's say Visa and MasterCard can transact in 100,000 transactions per second. Like, of all the people swiping their card at that exact second, like as long as it's not more than 100,000 people in the world, everything's running smooth, right? I think Ethereum's is way low. It's like 2,000, but I don't know these numbers, right? But Solana is like 50,000. So Ethereum's not fast enough yet for people to actually use it, like at Starbucks, right? And then not only that, there's huge fees. There's gas fees, which are what people who are mining Ethereum get rewarded in to make sure the whole blockchain is working. And they're super high. They're really high. Like, if you think credit card fees are high, Ethereum blows those fees out of the water. And so for that reason, they're trying to do some kind of upgrade, I think, which is happening right now to Ethereum 2.0, which is supposed to correct some of those things.
So if I think that Ethereum is shit, I should not buy any NFTs, no matter how much I love it, on the Ethereum blockchain, right?
Unless you really like that project and you don't care about the fluctuations in Ethereum.
No, that's what I'm saying. Let's say, because you're
Put it this way, I think Ethereum is shit. Not shit, but I don't love it like everybody else does. However, if there's an Ethereum based NFT project I like Moonbirds, with Ethereum being down 70% from the highs, I'm totally fine with it.
Okay.
Because it's already gotten knocked down 70%. Can it go to zero? Of course. But it's a like risk reward bet that I'd be willing to make. I like the project. I don't love the currency, but the currency is already down enough for me to be like, I'm cool with where it is.
But you like Solana as a currency.
Yeah, and that has its problems as well. But I've used both, right? So I have made transactions in Ethereum. I've waited the 20 minutes while it fucking processes, and I've paid. The other day, Anthony had to move 100 NFTs from his Ledger wallet to my MetaMask wallet. To move those, just to move them, like just to give them to me, it was the equivalent of $700 of Ethereum to transfer me that. That's insane. Why would people ever do when he did that? When he actually did it, I was like, "What are you doing? Why did you do that?" And he was like, "You wanted him," and I was like, "Yeah, but I didn't want you to spend $700 to give them to me." I was like, "I would have waited literally till you're in New York. You could have handed it to me for free."
Who's making
Right?
that $700?
The miners of Ethereum.
Got it. So how does that because Bitcoin mining was a big thing and it's gotten less, right? Because they started giving out less Bitcoin to miners. Does that mean that the more miners there are, the less fees there'll be?
So I'm not an expert on mining, and then Bitcoin is proof of work. Ethereum is proof of stake, which is actually different ways of mining. Um, there's probably somebody who can answer that question way better than me.
Okay.
But Solana is super fast. So it's like using a credit card. You swipe your credit card at Starbucks, it's approved right there. Solana, it's done. I send you
Is that
that.
just
You
because
have
people
it.
aren't using it as much? So there's less people on it?
No, it's because it was built differently than those. It was built for this use, and the fees are under 1 penny. So, like, if you're going to be transacting that thing, it's like if I was to send those 150 NFTs to Anthony on Solana, it would literally cost under a penny, and he would have them instantly. Like, so why are people using Ethereum? They're just the first mover advantage, right? Like Bitcoin was first. There's value to that. CryptoPunks were first. There's value to that. Ethereum was the first transactional currency. There's value to that. People are used to it. And that's why it has value. And now, if they fix the problems, it will continue to have value and probably even appreciate. But Solana was originated to solve that problem right off the bat.
But it's not gaining as much traction. People would still rather see Ethereum get fixed than just move to Solana.
I don't know. There are a huge amount of projects being built on Solana, and there are a lot of Solana advocates. And I think the man in this space, Sam Bankman-Fried, is that guy's like worth like $25 billion, and he's a stud, and he's in with Solana. So that also does a lot for me, just because I think that guy's the man. But there are problems with Solana too. So because there's so many transactions allowed, there's people who spam Solana, and then it shuts the network down. So like Solana has been shut down, I think, 4 times at this point. So that's also not good. So there's problems with that. But I mean, people loving Solana last year. It went from $2 to 270, right? And so it was overtaking Ethereum. So when Ethereum went from whatever to 4,000, Solana went up way more than Ethereum did.
So if that was, I mean, the developers of Ethereum could have, just conspiracy, could have flooded this so that it would have a shutdown and then people went away from it, right? I mean, that could happen.
Yeah, that could be.
I mean, just something similar in Instagram just happened. I have a client that was gaining a ton of traction. He started doing videos with us. Organically in 12 videos, he was doing amazing. Called him up yesterday. I saw he was up a ton of followers. I'm like, dude, you're fucking crushing it. He's like, dude, this is a shit show. I go, why? He goes, they're all fucking bots. And I'm like, we didn't do anything, right? Like, we're just putting videos out there. It doesn't make sense. He's like, long story short, he sent me a conversation that he had with his previous editor, who he had a falling out with. And he's like, bro, I bet you that this guy, because you can go on and I can go and buy 10,000 followers. I don't need access to your account or anything, flood you with bots and destroy your algorithm. And there ain't shit you could do about it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a scary, so how is any of this stuff like, if somebody could shut down Solana, I mean, these are still unsafe things. Like, is my money safer in a bank than in these types of things that are still so new and the security is not there?
Is your money safer in a bank? Yes, up until the FDIC insured amount. And then it goes to how much you trust the US government, which is pretty trusted, right? But a lot of people equate what's going on right now to the 2000s and the internet bubble, where all of them ran up huge, which is just what all the cryptocurrencies did and all the NFTs. Then all of them came crashing down. But the ones that were left standing were today the trillion-dollar companies like Amazon, Google. Back then, anything with a .com, right? Pets.com, they were running up and getting these huge amounts of money pumped into them. But then, just like all these NFT projects, 99% of them will go away, but the ones that don't will be the ones that people build on. And the same for these layer one protocols like Bitcoin, Solana, Ethereum. There's other ones. There's Polygon. There's Polkadot. So who's going to be the winner? We don't know yet. But the reason I like Bitcoin is because it was first. Even if it sucks, it's still first. There's always value to being first.